Hey everybody, welcome to episode 8 of the Sports Card Advantage podcast. My name is Jeff. I am joined by Bunk. How you doing today, Bunk?
Jeff, I'm doing well, man. How you doing, buddy?
Fantastic. Football is in the air. We are about 48 hours or so away from the first big event, I guess you could say, of the 2021 football season. As you know, I am football all the way. I could give a shit less about baseball. So we are going to dedicate this episode to the upcoming 2021 NFL draft. Everything that we're talking about over the next probably 40 minutes is going to be NFL draft related and how everything is playing out with the draft class and some potential investments that are going to be affected by the draft. So let's hop into our main event. We have history potentially in the making coming up on Thursday with 5 quarterbacks that could go in the top 10. Now,
Right.
the reason why we're talking about this is why quarterbacks do what for the hobby?
They drive it.
That is 100% correct. So last year we saw Herbert, we saw Burrow, we saw Tua. All their prices go absolutely nuts, at least at the beginning when the product first dropped. And now we have Trevor Lawrence, we have Zach Wilson, we have Justin Fields, we have Trey Lance, and then we have Mac Wilson.
Mac Jones.
Mac Jones, there you go. Thank you. Mac Zach, it's all the same. Um,
It won't be price wise.
seriously. So all these guys are slated to go top 10, top 12. There's all kinds of rumors going around, teams potentially jockeying to trade up. What do we anticipate this is going to impact the hobby, especially come August and September when your NFL team cards drop?
Well, to the point, quarterbacks drive the hobby, and if we're going to have this many top quarterbacks go this early, as we've seen in other years, it's going to drive the prices of hobby boxes and cases way up there. From a breaking standpoint, those 5 teams that are going to land those quarterbacks are going to drive the price of the case. So things like getting into random team breaks and things of that nature, you're going to be paying the price for the shot at getting one of those teams, and probably get stuck with a terrible checklist or an offensive lineman as your top pick.
Yeah, I mean, we had PYTs for the Jacksonville Jaguars and the New York Jets for box breaks this year that were probably less than $50. And then this coming year, you're going to see that 10 to 20x potentially.
Yeah, and we thought it was bad last summer, and I think now the hobby sustained itself here at this elevated level for a year now, and now you're gonna have another football draft class and season coming upon us at this booming market. It could get out of control here. It's gonna be real interesting Thursday.
Yeah, I mean, I remember last year. Last year was my first full year back in the hobby, and obviously, I collected as a kid, and lost track, and then you and I, got back into things. And I remember seeing like Mosaic was the first big product that released, and the Mosaic boxes were going for $749. And I do remember people complaining about the price of the Mosaic boxes in comparison to 2019. Um,
All right, Bob.
I gotta figure they're $1,000 or more this year, easy.
I think so, because the hype train is going to keep coming. It's just going to keep coming until until there aren't people buying. And you got an exciting class that people are pumped about. It's well talked about and covered now everywhere you look. I see nothing but elevated prices here.
Yeah, and I mean we saw an example of that in basketball season. Prizm dropped their product, and the initial 2020 boxes that came out were like $2,000, and then this year they were 2,500. You got to figure you're going to see a bump all the way around on any major product from Panini, of at least 25 to 50%, and it gets to a point where the breaks get to be really expensive, and then also even trying to buy retail. I mean, do you really? are you going to want to spend $1,200 on a mosaic box, and hope that you get one of these five guys, in an auto to maybe make it up as far as, that goes.
And I think first and foremost is you got to decide. You have X number of dollars. What's your goal? If you got the money you want to spend, and you might get beat on a terrible team and a random team or something like that, you might be better off just ponying up and taking the Jaguars.
Yeah.
And going all in.
Yeah, I mean, at that point too, though, I think you probably had some of that last year, but this year you're going to have a serious consideration of, if a box is going to cost you $1,500, whether or not you're better off trying to buy a couple raw cards that you really take your time at a show or examine pictures on eBay and try to find something that's going to grade out well, and just buying the individual cards instead of going through the ritual of opening packs. You have to decide whether or not you want the thrill, whether or not you want to collect, or whether or not you want value for what you're spending. I think the higher we go, the less value people are going to be able to make their money back from buying boxes. And I think this draft class, with the hype around it, pushes us over the top and then some, as far as buying, hobby boxes.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. I mean, how much of a gambler are you? That's I mean, the thrill of gambling is people are just. I mean, we see it all the time, and these breaks are filling at these crazy amounts of money, and people don't care. They're throwing money at it for the thrill and the chase of what you might get.
I literally saw a National Treasures filler, and people were paying over $400 just for a filler spot. Not even like a guarantee to get in spot, but literally just a filler. And I mean, that's the thing that I haven't seen slow down in regards to just people getting into breaks. The only thing that I think has, it just shifts, because last year we saw a ton more Prizm basketball get broken. This year, I think a lot of people shied away from it. They didn't want to pay the break price for a $2,500 box. And, are we going to see that in football? And it just depends. I mean, if these five guys come out and are slinging and playing, then you could see those boxes be even more at retail and people really want to get in. But if, you have a few of these guys that are sitting behind incumbent players or starters, you have a Herbert situation like the beginning of last year. His cards were not worth that much until he stepped on the field. So
yeah, it started showing what he could do, right?
Yeah, I mean, as soon as he started throwing touchdown passes, people were like, "Burrow who?" Kind of, a little bit. And
yeah, I mean, listen, are you collecting? Are you in it short term? Or are you in it long term? I think those are all questions you have to ask yourself before you drop in money on a big time product, and especially with the new NFL draft class.
Yeah, I mean, I think that Prizm football has the chance to be as expensive as Prizm basketball this year. I would not be shocked if it was close, simply because I think last year Prizm football ran about $1,700 a box, somewhere around there, and I think this year, if Prizm announced $24.99 for a retail box of Prizm, would you be shocked?
No, but I mean, there's no evidence to suggest that things won't sell and breaks won't fill yet.
No,
I mean, I'm
100%.
just not seeing things not fill because the price is too high. People just keep spending their money.
Yeah, I don't know where all the money's coming from, especially since we're in one of the worst economies that we've seen in however many years with COVID and whatever. But people keep finding money, breaks keep filling. I mean, there's literally hundreds, if not thousands, of breakers out there that are filling breaks every single night. And if Lawrence comes out and plays well, and Zach Wilson comes out and plays well, and one or two of the other guys are actually on the field playing football and throwing touchdowns, it's going to be pandemonium with the products.
Yeah, and you can't even buy packs of this stuff. These boxes are so expensive now. You can't even go in and just grab a pack or two. Say, I can't afford a box. I'll just grab a pack. What's a pack going to cost you?
Yeah, packs are $50 to $100 out of Prizm anyway. I mean, some of the other stuff is cheaper, but you have 24 packs in a box, and at $2,500, I mean, you're talking $100. And some of the lesser products.
I'm not paying $50 for a pack of football cards.
Yeah,
I don't care what's inside.
it definitely ain't 1987 anymore when we were growing up. That's for sure.
Man, 25-cent 1987 Tops packs right at the Little League snack stand. You couldn't beat it. Hot dog and a pack of cards after the game.
Hey, Dad, can I get $100 bill so I can go and buy a pack of cards?
Yeah. Yeah, no. To your point, I mean, to your point, you want in on the hype. You might be waiting a month and then joining the buy singles movement.
Yeah, I mean, and that's going to be the question. I think this year, especially in football, you could potentially see a tipping point as far as either buy singles or people are gonna draw their line in the sand. I mean, I don't know. I mean, we'll really see.
We'll find out. I don't think there's going to be enough people that draw the line, don't buy, and it's going to force product prices to come down. I think someone's going to hop in, fill these things up, and you're either in or you're out.
Yeah, I would agree. And then the other X factor in all this is your Targets, Walmarts, and other big box retail are clamping down dramatically on guys going in and literally buying out all the product and like stalking sales clerks for when stuff's going to come in. So that could also be a potential in regards to if they actually stick to their guns on that and say one box per or one product per or whatever some of these anecdotal signs that you're seeing on Instagram right now for retail. If retail becomes more available, obviously I think you see a shift because people.
Yeah, I haven't seen a desirable blaster box in any of the places you would normally find them in easily 2 years.
Well, I have.
They're just not there.
I've started to see pictures show up online from Target, especially people taking pictures of
The shelves, right?
The shelves. So we're starting to see some of that. And if Target really clamps down, I mean, granted, you're not going to have weeks to go in and buy product. Guys will just come back daily. But at least if you get there on the day or the day after that it shows up, you may have a shot to get something. Either that or these guys will start basically paying people outside of stores to go in and buy stuff. So we'll see. It just depends on how much Target wants to, Target, Walmart, etc., wants to clamp down on this. And, I hope that they do so that you don't push the next generation of kids out completely because it's just stupid expensive.
I think they're almost out. You can't buy kids a cheap plastic card. I mean, you have options.
There's cheap product out there. I mean, Leaf makes a lot of cheap product, and there's some stuff. I bought a box of Leaf Draft the other day for $69. So there's stuff out there that you can buy. It's not the if your kid's like, Daddy, I want Prizm, you're just like, well, sorry, son, you're gonna have to save your allowance for the next 3 months in order to get a pack of Prizm. But
yeah, there's only so much Topps opening day and Topps Big League that someone's gonna want to open. That's the only thing you can find for $19.99. That's what a blaster box typically was. $19.99. Everything, every product under the sun. Well, $19.99 blaster box.
Well, I mean that's going to be a question of whether or not your kids aren't flipping cards. So it's like if they just want their favorite players, you can go buy the cheap stuff and find that stuff for the garbage that has no value, just so your kids can have their favorite cards. But if you're looking for any autos or anything else, you got to do what you do and have your children write in handwriting to their favorite players during spring training to see if they'll actually sign cards and send them back. That's the only way you're getting autos.
Which you can't even do anymore. I don't even think they're accepting mail.
Well, COVID. Thank
autograph requests.
So, all right. Well, any other comments on the draft and or what's coming up for this season for hobby product?
Yeah, well, as far as the draft goes, I mean, me, one of the most useless things in the entire world is the NFL mock draft, in my opinion. So there's so much speculation where all these guys are going to go. So I don't think it's a matter of where do people end up that are going to drive these prices. I don't think it matters. I think your chase guys are going to be your chase guys. The other interesting thing, too, is we're coming off a weird college season. I mean, you got guys that are going to be in the top of this draft that didn't even play last year.
Yeah.
You got guys like Penny Sewell and Jamar Chase. They opted out. They didn't even play last year, and they're high prospects or top prospects. Quarterback Trey Lance played one game last year, I think.
Yeah,
one game. So Yeah, it should be interesting. I mean, it's a different feel because of the college season we're coming off of in terms of trying to process talent levels here and stuff. But just another interesting twist to the draft.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, so we'll move on from our main event talk of the draft onto what our investment slash lottery tickets are for this week. Also, going to be focused on guys who are going to be impacted by the draft and some value plays this week. The first three are going to be lottery tickets, and then we're going to talk one investment. Let's start with Drew Lock. Drew Lock, Broncos will be on the clock. They're picking in the top 10. The question becomes, are they going to take a quarterback, or are they going to address other needs, and how that's going to affect Lock's card prices. Right now you can pick up a Drew Lock 2019 Prizm PSA 10 for less than $70. We actually bought one, for full disclosure, last night, literally just to sit and hold it to see what happens in the draft. What are the options you see with Lock, and what can potentially happen here?
So again, I just got finished saying I put no stock in NFL mock drafts, but there are a number of mock drafts that have the Broncos taking a quarterback.
Yeah,
So, and
absolutely.
with that said, to your point, I just looked at recent completed Lock auto sales, and people are still spending quite a bit of money on some of these lower numbered shiny parallels of Lock. So obviously they don't think the Denver Broncos are taking a quarterback, but I think at the price point you got him at, it's a nice lottery ticket.
Yeah.
But I'm not spending more than that until I see what happens at the draft, because there's a good shot they take a quarterback.
Yeah, absolutely. And it depends on what they can do with Locke, if he stays in Denver or if he gets shipped out of Denver. Because more than likely they're not going to keep him and let him sit behind whoever else there is, whoever else they have that they draft, because Locke really doesn't have that much to teach him, because he got drafted 2 years ago and he still has an absolute cannon of an arm. So it's just a question of, if they don't take a quarterback, he's got crazy weapons with Judy, Sutton, Fant, and Melvin Gordon. And then if he is the quarterback and can somehow salvage a season and get himself back on track, he has tremendous upside potential. He has not had a season yet where he's been healthy, the receivers have been healthy, and they've all come together. So we'll see if they address another need and then let Locke give it one more shot. Otherwise, he gets shipped off somewhere else, and then you got to see what the situation is wherever he winds up and whether or not he can get himself righted. I think it's a Sam Darnold situation where, highly touted prospect, if he winds up in the right situation with the cannon of an arm that he has, he could potentially shoot up.
Yeah, and to be fair, last year Locke, one of their top offensive linemen opted out,
Yeah.
and another guy I believe came down with COVID during the season. They were missing him, so they were really weak up front, and they're expected to be revamped this year. So if they stick with Locke, with the weapons you just mentioned, there's a lot of potential to succeed there.
Yeah, as we said at the beginning, quarterbacks drive the hobby, and if all of a sudden Locke has a good season, people will get back on that bandwagon so fast. And right now you have an opportunity to buy some of his non-auto PSA 10s, which are low pops, and those are great options that you can probably flip easily for 3 to 4x if it turns out well for him. If not, I would hold him, see where he winds up, and if he has a chance to play somewhere else, could also get some value if he picks up somewhere else.
Yeah, good shot. Even if he gets shipped out, he has a chance to play for someone else. And if he stays, it's even better, because you already have your established Lock fans and collectors, and we have they have the jerseys, and they already have cards of Lock. So if he stays there, then they might get back. They'll get right back on board and say, I want more.
Yeah, absolutely. We're gonna stay in Denver. Cortland Sutton. And Cortland Sutton was highly touted coming out of college. He is the prototypical frame wide receiver. He has had flashes of brilliance so far. Last year, training camp and the first few games of the season, he looked like he was going to be 1,000 yards and double-digit touchdowns, and then he went down. So depending on who Denver takes at quarterback, whether or not they have a new guy or whether or not it's Locke, if Sutton stays on the field, where are his prices now, and where do you think they could get to?
Yeah, I mean, even just at the end of March, a couple of his Prizm Silver autos went for $30 raw.
Yeah.
I mean, and for a potential, he's the number one guy there, and the beast ability he showed us, I'm in. I'm all in at 30 bucks on a Prizm Silver. And there's a number of some of your better product RPAs that are lower number that are all coming in under $50. Beautiful cards.
Yeah, absolutely. And I believe his rookie year, he had 750 yards and 6 touchdowns. The only reason why I know that off the top of my head is because he was on my fantasy roster. But I believe that's where he finished his rookie year. Everybody thought that he was going to be 1,000 yard, 10 touchdown guy, and he definitely has that ability. So if he gets back there to be able to buy Prism Silver Auto for $30, I mean, shit, you get that graded and it comes back anything 9, 10, you're easily looking at 5x or more on your investment. So scrounge around, see what you can find on him, and sit on that until September, October, once you see what he's going to look like on the field.
Yeah, stay healthy and perform. And with Fant, Judy, Hamler, there's so many other targets there to draw attention. Sutton could feast.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, Fant and Sutton are going to be 1 and 2 as far as the end zone targets, and once again, if Locke can perform or whoever else they get, the other guys that they're going to be looking at all have big arms. Fields and Lance are probably going to be who they'll be in contention with, are not possession quarterbacks. Those guys are grip it and rip it quarterbacks. So we'll see. We're going to stay with wide receiver and go to the New York Jets. Talking Denzel Mims. What do you got for me on Denzel?
Much like, and surprisingly, his Prism Silvers are a little more pricey than Cortland Sutton's currently, and he is not even clipping the resume, but they're averaging about $50. His last couple of Prism Silver Raws, as far as Mims goes. He also products like Select and Spectra, very, very great looking RPAs that are coming in, again, under 50, and in most cases under $30.
Yeah, I definitely saw a couple select RPAs with him that were $18. And granted, his autos aren't the sexiest as far as considering he just writes a DM on them, but
No, the toddler auto, I call him.
yeah, there's a couple guys out there that sign like that, but once again, Jets drafting a quarterback, New York market. He has some support with Corey Davis and Jamison Crowder. And if he gets himself to 750 to 1,000 yards and some touchdowns, you're going to easily.
The Jets are winning.
And the Jets are, even if they're decent, like they don't even have to be like in contention for the AFC East.
Their over/under total is only 6 for this year, but I think a lot of that is because of what they're going to do in the draft.
I mean, but if they win 7 or 8 games and he has a decent season, a $25 RPA, easily you're looking at $80, $90, 3x, for him.
Yeah, and even if you go back around the time of the Darnold trade or a little earlier, that Prism Silver auto I was mentioning was up even a little higher, around the $75-$80 range. And now that Darnold's off the roster and the uncertainty of the draft, now they've settled back down. So to your running point all the time of checking charts and doing your homework, his price has come down off a recent peak. I don't have what his highest was in front of me, but coming off a recent peak, it's now settled down low in anticipation of this draft. So if you're a guy that's high on Mims and his ability to exceed here, depending on what they do, now's a good time.
Yeah, absolutely. And, once again, anytime you have potential to buy something that's pretty much should be at the bottom, I mean, for all these guys like, Sutton, Locke, Mims, these should be pretty much at the bottom. They're all highly touted. And, if you buy in for 25 to $50, I don't foresee it going too much lower, even if they have bad seasons. People are still hoping that they will turn around and looking for value. So your risk to reward here is good. So definitely 3 guys I would look at for that opportunity.
Well, that's the great thing about buying and doing your homework and buying on downswings and at bottoms. You're likely, at worst case scenario, going to sell it for what you bought it for.
Yeah, absolutely. And, for worst comes to worst, to have the opportunity for 3 to 5 times your money. And the worst thing that happens is you lose out on, eBay fees.
The fees, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it should be a no-brainer. So last but not least, we're going to talk Tua. I know we've talked Tua a little bit in the past, but I want to rehash a little bit here with Tua. I think that the dust has settled in regards to any sort of speculation that he's not going to be at least the number one to start the season. There was a lot of speculation that Deshaun Watson could be the quarterback and Tua would find himself either riding the bench or in Houston on a terrible, terrible team. And I think that's over. So, Miami picking at 6 has an insane amount of options of things that could fall to them. They're either going to grab an offensive lineman, Pitts falls, or Jamar Chase falls, or they repair him with Jalen Waddle. And, any of those situations are all good for Tua. And
what are we looking at?
There are multiple cards that you can get for Tua right now, either raw, silver, Prizms for less than $200, or your base cards, your Prizm base, your Mosaic base, some of your other high-end base that are PSA 10s also are going for under $200. I think that if he can get his act together a little bit, he has a tremendously large fan base, people that want to see him succeed. And if he can have a good offseason, get another weapon in there from the draft. They also brought in a couple guys in free agency. And if he comes out and is slinging and playing good football, easily also 3 to 5x on your money. The Burrow equivalents of these cards are going for 600 to 700 or more. And Burrow missed most of the season.
So, and Tua across the board is down?
Yeah, Tua across the board is either flat from a tremendous downward spiral from mid-season and has basically gone flat in the offseason, or it has slowly trickled off and down until now. And I think once the draft hype starts, especially if they land Pitts or Chase or Waddle and they don't go offensive line, I think that adds to the hype that he's got another weapon to throw to and just opens up the universe for him to sling it. So I think, in my opinion, take the shot.
And they started winning last year.
Yeah. Their defense is solid. They still have a ton of picks. So there are rumors that they're going to go wide receiver, offensive line, and then potentially grab a running back with their second pick in the first round. So they have a lot of options, and their offense is going to be revamped for this year. So Tua gets a year under his belt. If he can come in and play, it's tremendous upside opportunity for him.
Yeah, and the Dolphins are one of those markets where you don't think of it as huge market in terms of sports. Maybe mainly because maybe the Marlins drag that down, but the Dolphins have fans everywhere.
Yep.
Like they're countrywide. There's fans everywhere. The Dolphins. So you get a hyped Dolphin fan population going and looking at some Tua cards.
Yeah, Dolphins.
Way to go.
Dolphins, if they're playing well, will be in contention for the AFC East. Patriots are done, and the Jets.
Yeah, up and coming, but not ready yet.
Yeah, exactly. So Dolphins, if they're winning some games, 9-7, potentially gets them in the playoffs. So it just depends on Tua, and if they're winning games and he's playing decent, I think his cards, definitely see a instant spike.
17-game season, sir. Your math doesn't add up there.
I'm so excited. Yeah, I'm sorry. I forgot that we're going. I forgot that we're going to 17 games this year, but yeah, just one more week of fantasy and all kinds of fun stuff for this year.
Another week of stats.
That's right, baby. All right, we are going to wrap up that segment of the show and move on to our hobby education. Today, in the theme, we're going to stick to the NFL draft, and we're going to be talking about college uniforms. The 2021 Prizm draft picks boxes are going to be out in the beginning of June. As of now, those will feature all college uniforms. Give us a rundown on what the typical release schedule is and college uniform versus pro in terms of value.
Yeah, so the first one we're going to see is the Prizm draft picks, right? So it's all college uniforms. With this class and any new product, the hype's going to always be there. Things are going to sell. Singles are going to go off the charts. But then from a long-term perspective of a player that you want to get in on, the college uniform is typically not the ideal or the iconic or the card you want to have of him. It's going to be the first one that you can get your hands on. But so short term, you're trying to get in on these things and get rid of them. There are certain programs in college football so big that people collect just players in that college uniform. There's definitely a market there, but when the dust settles and you're a few months away from a college release, it's not going to be in the top of the list.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, if you're a flipper, if you can get your hands on one of the top 10 guys, especially the top 5 quarterbacks autos, and you can flip that or potentially hustle it into PSA, BGS, HGA, whatever, and get it back quick with a grade on it and flip it, you can definitely have some opportunity there. But if you're a collector of these guys, excuse me, of a college.
You say they exist.
Say who exists?
Collectors.
Yes, collectors exist.
And he rolls his eyes. I love it.
Collectors exist, but if you're a collector of these particular players or colleges and you're looking for to purchase these cards, our advice is 2 to 3 months. Wait 2 to 3 months until.
If you're a college only guy, you're not buying these on release day.
Yeah,
absolutely not.
Wait at least 2 months. Between June and the beginning of August, and as soon as the Mosaic product drops in August, then all of this college uniform stuff is going to go down 50% or more. To put things in perspective, a Zion Duke PSA 10, Prizm draft versus a Zion, Pelican PSA 10 is 7 to 8x in value. So just wait, be patient. Don't hop in on the initial stuff. If you're buying any of this, I wouldn't buy boxes unless you're looking to rip it and flip it. Otherwise, just wait. The prices will come down.
I couldn't agree more. Not something I'll be buying.
No, absolutely not. Waiting for that first Mosaic drop in August. That's usually the first premier product that we see of the season, and then Prizm usually shortly thereafter. We'll see if schedules get back into the swing of things this year, post.
Yeah, hopefully a few less postponements.
Yeah, hopefully post-COVID schedules are back and we got some regularity to product release here. Alrighty, Guy. Another announcement from Topps that we're going to talk about. Hot take. I'm going to throw some shade on the anticipated number 1 NFL draft pick, Trevor Lawrence. About 6 weeks ago, Topps announced that they signed a deal with Lawrence to release a Trevor Lawrence card set that's drawn by his brother and sister-in-law. I am not a fan of this. I think it's a tremendous waste. I think the cards look awful. They're not only doing cards, but they're also doing NFTs for this. It's all pink and purple and green, and Trevor looking like a hippie from 1963, and nothing in Clemson uniform, nothing in obviously soon to be Jaguars uniform. Give me some rundown on the rest of this deal and how it impacts Lawrence and the hobby.
Yeah, so right off the bat, to your point, there's going to be no Clemson. There's going to be no Jaguars or any NFL logo, simply because of the NFL Players Association agreement with Panini. It's a 25 card pack. It sold out quickly. FOMO. All these online exclusives go crazy. What's up?
I said, of course. And for those of you that are actually watching us on YouTube or anywhere else, podcasts are available. I do have some Trevor Lawrence, some examples of the cards on the screen. And it's like, who really wants to own a card of Trevor Lawrence in a suit in 5 years from
now? Nobody. I guarantee you. I mean, what percentage of people that bought this product are going to own any of the cards from this release in a year or two?
Yeah, I mean, unless you're just a massive, massive Trevor Lawrence fan or you have a crush on Trevor Lawrence. I mean, if you look at some of these cards, it's like he's not in uniform.
It's him in a plain-colored sweatshirt.
Yeah, I mean, this is awful. I mean, this is just a really poor example of Topps Topps' own FOMO. They're not in football anymore, and they're not releasing really anything for football, and this is them trying to steal some kind of spotlight for the NFL. And even the autos, like the autos, yeah, they'll be worth something, but I just don't really see them being worth.
One in 5 packs gets an auto. It's numbered to 99 or less, but I think there's 50 subjects.
Yeah,
so what you do the math on how many Lawrence autos are going to get? It's going to be tough to find one.
Yeah, but do you really want one? Like, if I'm gonna,
no, I want one in a Jackson. If I wanted a Lawrence auto, I'm getting a Jacksonville Jaguars with a nice patch, and that's the one I'm getting on card.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure in one of these pictures he's in a half shirt. Like, what the hell is this? Like,
maybe he hangs out with Zeke.
I guess. But I don't know. Maybe we're just old and we're not in touch with the younger audience, but.
Nah, it's like, listen, I'm all for art, but it's like art, all this stuff. There's so much of it now, so I'm just kind of over it.
Yeah, like when did your typical sports card collector become a art aficionado? Like, I understand if this stuff was going to retain value, but I just don't think it is. If you look at the Topps Project 70 stuff and the value of that, and then the other specialty art project that they did with Steve Aoki, who probably has more global popularity than Trevor Lawrence. I know that you personally got in on some of that Aoki stuff and you sold it right away, but where are the prices on that right now?
Well, here's that. So these 25 card packs, you got a decent. There's 1 and 2 will have a parallel, and there's a whole list of the different serial numbers you can get of these cards. But to your point, actually, I was lucky enough to pull a high-profile guy out of Aoki, and I got one of the higher number parallels, and it was out of 77. I just checked the price on it, and I sold this thing 2-3 months ago, whenever it was. It's already at half the value.
Yeah, and
already half the value.
I don't imagine that continue.
And we're in the middle of baseball season, and this person's playing high level.
Yeah, I have to imagine that trend somewhat continues. Aoki is still in the spotlight. Like, he runs his own breaks on Instagram, and he's doing high profile, high priced product. Most of it's Pokemon, but still. And it's just not retaining value, and I don't think this does either. I think once his higher end stuff from Mosaic and Prizm and National Treasures and Select and all this stuff comes out, people forget that this stuff even exists, and it's a memory other than the autos, and even those probably selling for cheap.
But is that enough? That's enough. People are chasing it and they're spending it. It's as close to a money grab as you can get. Like, this was not gonna not sell out.
Yeah, in my opinion, this is definitely shame on Topps. As far as just a money grab, and it's not good. It's not good for the business or the hobby, of sports cards, and I don't know. It in my opinion, I think it's greed. It's greed on Topps' part.
Oh, listen, they're trying to make money like everyone else, and they know where the market is. Right now they could put out anything.
Yeah,
look, they released Topps now. God, I can't remember the name of it. What's that game where Cornhole? They're releasing Cornhole World Championship Topps Now cards. People bought them. They have no shame. They haven't had it in a while.
Yeah.
But if people are gonna buy them, why not release them?
Well, the NFT stuff I understand. That's more keeping up with the Joneses and NBA Top Shot, and I think Panini and the NFL are going to be just around the corner, not far behind. Yeah, 100%. But this is just a straight up money grab play. Sell it all out real quick, and then it's going to have no value, and it just hurts people's collection value and just burns people. And I think it's just bad form.
Yeah, and then. I've been saying this to you at other times too. We keep talking about, we really hope the print runs don't go up crazy. But I think the problem is the product runs are the issue now. There's so many products, and they may not be crazy high numbered stuff. I don't know how many packs they sold here, but I think we're getting overwhelmed with products.
Yeah, and
product.
They're taking the opposite of the old junk wax. It's like, well, we can't do too much print run. But if we make 72 different products and call it something different and keep the print runs low and keep the numbered, out of 99 instead of out of 5,000, that's going to be better. But it's still all the same, and they're still X amount of autos and patches and whatever floating around of all these guys, and it floods the market. And stuff like this it just doesn't help control the interest and keep it high. I mean, this is just a poor quality product, and I'm not a fan. If you're an art collector and a Trevor Lawrence fan, like the six of you that are out there in the world, then fantastic. This is your bag, but I think otherwise it's going to be garbage. And this time next year, people will not even remember it exists.
I can't wait to check out the secondary market prices on these.
Yeah, well, we'll see what they are in 3 months. Once the first Prizm draft picks drops, the interest in this cuts in half, and then once the real stuff drops, the interest in this just disappears. All right, we're gonna wrap up with peanut gallery question. So it seems like there's a ton of hype around the NFL. Big surprise. With the draft coming up in a few days. Have I missed my window of being able to buy football? Are we going to anticipate, from the draft to the start of the season, just one, upward trajectory, or, will there be opportunities for me to, buy in on some guys that are potentially, good investments or other things going into the season?
Yeah, I mean, I'd say let the hype of the draft and the draft class steer people away from the established guys or your second and third year breakout type guys. The market's going to be still low and not really moving on those guys through the spring here and summer. You got all these teams; they're not even going to hold workouts, so you're not going to have constant videos and news reports coming out about position battles and stuff. So I think there's plenty of opportunity on all. We're talking outside the NFL draft class here. Football's not really going to get in the swing of things, so we hit July, early August. So I think there's plenty of time to be buying football if that's your thing.
Yeah, draft will be wrapped up by the 1st of May, and middle of July, I think, is like roughly when mandatory report is going to be. So that's when you'll start to see highlights on social media and on ESPN and that kind of stuff. But there should be a solid window between June, where the NBA playoffs are in full swing, and baseball is hitting stride as far as the season is concerned, where people the shine will be off football for a little while, and you'll have your opportunities to get in on guys that we talked about. And then also there's plenty of other guys that have coming off injuries, coming off COVID, coming off bad seasons, or just haven't hit their stride yet, that you'll have opportunities to buy and get in and make some money for this year.
Yeah, and then the things I got to do to survive now in the hobby, as far as football goes, I'm simply picking up the cheapest Joe Burrow base rookie cards I can find, couple bucks a piece, because I have no doubt that when he gets back healthy and he's playing well, that I'll be able to do something with him without any issue, and I can put it back towards my baseball card habit.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, especially if Bengals draft, reunite him with Jamar Chase, or grab Pitts, or bring another weapon in there, and he comes back healthy and drops 4,000 yards and 30 touchdowns. I mean, his stuff is gonna go ape shit, because his stuff is high now, and he didn't even play. Like, he literally played half the season last year, and looked okay. So if he comes out and has Higgins in year two, and they draft a stud at receiver or tight end, his stuff's gonna continue to go up. So if you can grab some cheap stuff and get it graded, should be good investments too.
Agree.
All right, Guy. Last but not least, little hometown homer talk. Giants coming up, pick 11. What do you want to see, and what do you think's gonna happen?
Well, I'm fascinated by all the people in the media that are just hounding Gettleman about never trading down, and he's coming firing back saying it's an urban myth that I won't trade down. So I kind of almost want to see him trade down just to see if he's got the stones to do it. But as far as a pick goes, I would love to get my hands on someone that can sack a quarterback.
Yeah, we haven't had one of those in a while.
Since Strahan, Tuck, and Humanura.
Yeah, I think there's a couple guys, a couple of stud defensive edge guys, and then also Micah Parsons, who's supposed to be fantastic linebacker candidate. So I mean, those are the guys I want. If we wind up with John Ross Part 2, otherwise known as Devonta Smith, I am forfeiting on Gettleman.
But if I had to put $1 on who Gettleman picks, I'm going to go with he's going to take his Hog Molly Slater, offensive lineman. That's my that's where I'm going there.
I hope not, but we'll have to wait and see. All right, thanks everybody. Episode 8 in the books. Guy, I'll talk to you soon.
Yes, sir.
Bye.